I just remember thinking about my family and my kids like so deeply, because I was willing to go far into that feeling of like actually feeling my death and really being like, oh my gosh, what did I not leave behind for them? That security, you know, that prosperity, that time, and that all those things. And I was like, gosh, that is so important to me.
Right. But I did Hail Mary that night, hit my knees, try to prepare myself spiritually, reading some different things. And I felt as I started to pray, just like a warm blanket, right? Just that feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm okay. So that's when I knew like God's really there. Like he really cares about me.
I think it's important for those guys to hear, if you're in that position, just keep showing up.
Yep.
Just keep doing the deal, because that's not going to be your reality forever.
It's not.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 166. This is like a round table, I feel like Knights of the Round Table up in here.
That's exactly what it is.
We are all knights.
We got some great personalities sitting around the table for today's podcast. Let me introduce them. My co-host for today, Jordan, the Burning Man Birmingham, and
I heard that one.
Preston, Pistol Preston Dixon. I don't know, man. Help me out here.
You coined it. You coined it. What wrong with that?
That reminds me of like
not
the awkward
P. Diddy.
part.
It used to be the P. Diddy from some of the old friends. That's since been retired. So.
Oh, it's still around.
Have you seen the show I Love You, Bro? Where he's like trying to like get a guy friend, and he like says like all these awkward things. That was just my awkward moment. Pistol Pete.
Pistol Pete.
we weren't going to say it was awkward, but it was a little awkward.
Dude, talk about Pistol Pete. If you go to YouTube and look up Pistol Pete, he does those... what are the trainings for your permits to carry a firearm?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Whatever you call that. It is hilarious. Me and Tyson went, and it was a 2.5 hour show.
This is not Pistol Pete Maravich, right? I'm
no
hoping
idea.
someone goes that route, but
guy.
I mean, I guess we're all just not there.
Oh,
that's fine.
It's that fun.
I thought we were talking about Pistol
Thank
Preston
you.
Dixon. Anyway, so Preston's on. We got Jordan in studio. Today we're going to get to Preston's story. We're also going to talk a little team recovery action. This is this amazing app. It's one of our sponsors. Before we get to that, though, we want to give our sponsors some love. Episode 166 is brought to us by Wasatch Crest. Wasatch Crest is a leading provider of addiction and mental health treatment. Nestled in the scenic mountains of Park City and Heber, the 4 mountainside facilities offer a full continuum of care, including residential, treatment, in-person and virtual IOP, transitional living, adventure therapy, family support, and alumni aftercare. What sets Wasatch Crest apart is their elevated treatment approach, separate men's and women's programs that provide personalized, tailored care to each client, backed by a passionate staff of over 50 professionals. Reach out to Wasatch Crest by calling them at 385-644-1500 or check out their website, wasatchcresttreatment.com. You guys have any experience with Wasatch Crest?
Work with them a lot. Daily, pretty much. We have a pretty good group thread going with our admissions and theirs, and it's very fluid. They do a great job and a beautiful spot. Love it.
Yeah, man. I always tell like potential clients when I'm talking to them, they're like, well, what's the facility like? And I'm like, go to wasatchcresttreatment.com and check it out. You're going to feel like you're going to celebrity rehab.
Yeah, they do good work there.
Yeah.
They really do.
Yeah. Right on. It's also brought to us by Team Recovery. We're going to talk about Team Recovery today. Team Recovery builds custom apps for all types of treatment providers. The app helps with referrals, admissions, client retention, and tracking treatment outcomes. Learn more at teamrecovery.io or call them at 866-824-2281. Let me take a breath.
Nailed it.
And Diamond Detox. Jordan, you're familiar with Diamond Detox?
It's a decent place.
That's right.
Let Diamond Detox be your first step on the path to hope, help, and healing. Call their free and confidential number at 385-988-5332 or visit their website at diamonddetox.com. We appreciate all of them sponsoring this podcast. Okay, so here
Preston
we go.
into Team Recovery.
We go.
Here we go.
Let's hear all about Preston.
Let me put my vulnerable pants on here for a minute.
I always say share as much or as little as you're comfortable with, right?
You know, I love sharing my story. You know, I was in a meeting up at the MEX conference, a marketing exchange conference. And I was in a meeting, a guy shared an acronym that just hit. He says, you know, these meetings are so important because it gives people hope, and hope is an acronym for hearing other people's experiences.
Oh, I like that acronym.
And, you know, looking at our recovery guys, I mean, the reality is the reason why we made it through teen withdrawal, at least I did, is you know, the day I decided to leave, someone shared their experience with me. And I saw the light in the guy's eyes that had 30 days sober, that picked up that 30-day chip, you know, and just, you know, those experiences saved my life. Right. And so anytime I have that opportunity to share mine, I look at it as an opportunity to give back. Right.
Absolutely. We had Tyson on for episode 165,
yep.
and he shared something that I totally resonated with. You know, he shared, like, I didn't think it was possible for me to pull myself out of basically this tailspin. That's not verbatim what he said, but that was the idea.
Right.
And I remember being like, the first person that I ever heard speak publicly about their recovery journey was Todd Sylvester.
Mm-hmm.
And that did so much for me in growing my belief that, like, hey, if this dude can do it,
right,
maybe I can do it too. Jordan, was there like an inspirational moment when somebody shared like their story with you and you, like, the lights came on?
You know, it really was more so looking at the habits and routines. You know, once I was out of treatment, I know D. Marble, our equine therapist, had a big impact on me. You know, talking about, you know, I remember in IOP after residential, I was kind of down on myself because, like, I just expect a lot from myself, like, hard on myself.
You are, bro.
And he's in IOP, and I was saying some of those things like, I just feel like I should be doing more, and he just, stop it, damn it. You know, I'm like, whoa. He's like, did you stay sober today? Did you get out of bed? That's enough, you know? And I was just like, makes sense. So it was more him and just saying that, like, just, that's hard work every day. Some days are harder than others, you know? And then just, I remember doing my laundry was like a step, you know, just once you're out of those full withdrawals and you just start doing more and more and more.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
I love it. So where does the story start for you, Preston? I know, right? Like, this is a podcast about recovery from addiction. Mm-hmm. This isn't a podcast about recovery from social use or one-time use or, you know, experimental. Mm-hmm. So at what point in your life do you feel like you went from maybe that one-time use, experimental, social, recreate, whatever you want to call it, to addiction, like dependency? Right. What did that look like for you?
It's hard to really put a finger on that moment. I think that moment was as a 19-year-old kid who had been abusing OxyContin for a period of time and waking up in the middle of the night sweating. And the only thing on my mind was, I need to find more of this. Right. That is probably when I started to realize, okay, maybe I have a problem here. 'Cause it was that obsession of the mind. And I couldn't shake that no matter how I could, you know, I couldn't shake it. It was that relentless obsession is where that started.
That reminds me of like a little clip I've seen from Steve-O where he's like,
oh, yeah,
you don't have a problem until you try to stop. And then you realize you've got a big problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So 19, you're part of the OxyContin thing.
Yep.
Me too. Jordan, did you get wrapped up in the OxyContin thing? I mean, we're all fairly similar in age, and man, that was a nightmare that swept across the country.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I'm kind of grateful it was that. These days, these kids with fentanyl, it's I don't think I would have stood a chance.
Bro, they're dying before they're even getting addicted.
Right. Yeah. Right. That is the scary thing. And but yeah, as you guys know, the OxyContin wasn't the problem. That was the solution.
Sure.
Right? Which is really interesting. I'm in an interesting spot because as an owner of a treatment program, and I'm so grateful because I've got a wonderful support system that I've had to process things through, and have just kind of gained so much, as I'm sure you guys have, so much retrospect and so much knowledge around the why. Like, why did I get to that point? Right. And
You're talking about like today. Like today you have
yes,
More retrospect.
yeah, like, and more understanding of what was the cause, or why did I get so bad.
I have one of these annoying linear brains.
Yeah.
Right. Take us to 19, man.
19. Let me take you a little further back.
Okay.
A little further back. So I grew up Draper, Utah, mean streets of Draper. And you know, it's such a you know, if you're not familiar with Draper, it's you know,
Bougie.
it's you know, it's a little not as it is now. It didn't used to be. It used to be more farmland, but just good, solid people. Grew up LDS homes, MLDS now. Went way from the church for a while. Came back. It's part of my story, but you know, felt a lot of pressure as a kid growing up in that type of environment. Right, going through adolescence, getting the hormones. Lost my virginity when I was 16 years old on my birthday. Thought I was going to hell.
For sure. Yeah.
That's it.
There's only one.
I'm done. Right. Like, that's it. You know, was struggling a little bit in school, I just wanted to fit in. Right. I had this kind of, constant feeling of, I'm just not measuring up. Like, here's my ruler, right? Here's where I need to be. And this is where I am.
Yeah.
And that is what really created a lot of cognitive dissonance, because I'd start to fool around with girls, or I had some friends that, I don't know if you guys remember, it's Corseed and Cough and Cold. It used to be called Red Devils or Triple C's. Sure. And so I remember taking some of that with friends. I mean, these aren't drugs. This is cough medicine, but it gave me an escape from that constant, you know, it wasn't always front of mind awareness, but it was that unconscious piece.
Perfectionism?
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
That. Yep. Yeah.
Escape the myth of perfectionism.
And there's that payoff when you're just kind of breaking away, right? That sense of, I remember just feeling kind of alive when I was just kind of going against the grain a little bit. I like that.
It gave you permission to just truly be a little bit kind of free and careless and a little wild.
Quick squirrel on that.
Yeah.
Some of my deepest beliefs is we have a soul.
Yep.
Right. And when we're trying to escape in that way, I think that when we use drugs or alcohol, that's a close feeling to feeling that freedom where you don't have the weight and the pain of this physical body.
Yeah. And
you get to escape and just kind of float and be free. And that's kind of what our internal spirit's like. This is what I'm used to. Help me do that. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Kind of a weird squirrel, but I kind of believe that was part of why I was trying to free float. You know? Anyways.
Well, and if you think about it from like a biomedical standpoint, we know that substances shut down the frontal cortex, right? It releases massive amounts of dopamine in the brain.
Yep.
And so you're thinking less and you're feeling good.
Yeah.
Right. So like
free flow.
Yeah. And listen, like, I'm not trying to glorify it or make it sound like it's, you know,
it's the why behind
MTV
it.
video, but let's be practical about it. Like you said,
there's a reason.
Oxycontin wasn't the problem. It was the solution for a while.
You know, I got a 12-year-old son, and, you know, I thought a long time about how am I going to have these conversations with my kids? How real am I going to be? And I wish someone was as real with me as I have been with my kid, because I think for him, he has so much more of an education and more of a deep understanding of kind of what it really is, that he's, I think, I'm hoping makes better decisions than I did, you know, going through all that. But
I just think it's cool that you have conversations like that.
Yeah.
Like growing up, we had the DARE program. And
don't
outside
do drugs.
of
that,
that,
just don't.
And how well did that
didn't
work
talk
out,
about
right?
it.
Just don't. That's good.
Yeah, like for a long time, I just thought drinking like sodas and coffees was gonna send me to hell. I didn't even know about heroin or cocaine or any of this stuff. And I think a 12-year-old curious brain, parents and somebody's leaders aren't always there, right?
Yeah, you know, and I remember, you know, taking Percocet after I got my wisdom teeth out, and I remember thinking, oh my gosh, like, this is a miracle drug. Like, where has this been my whole life? And then I had a friend who had a mom who he could get some all the time, so we started doing that, and I loved the way that felt, and I thought I was wrong because I felt that way. I thought I was maybe bad or defective. I shouldn't enjoy this. that you're right. That's the reality. And that's what I've had to, since in my recovery, I've gone to my old health class and have talked to the kids in high school and just church, fifth Sundays and different things. I get pretty real in that these are solutions. Problem is it's a counterfeit, right? Kind of going along with what you're saying is it's a counterfeit to real joy, right? Mm-hmm. That weight, the reason why I felt as a solution, which it was, is because it, to your point, from a biomedical standpoint, right, numbs out the prefrontal cortex. And so I felt like I was free.
Yeah. And on another biomedical standpoint, there's a reward deficiency syndrome that's important, I think, for families and people out there. Not only did it help you feel that free, inhibition, but that's actually why some of us, when I used Percocet, I had that same idea where it was like, I didn't just get physical pain release. I got emotional. Oh, yeah. Because I was deficient in those dopamine receptors. And so some people, they take opioids, and that's why there's a difference. Some people take it and they get nauseous because they're not deficient in that. Yeah. They're deficient maybe in GABA or serotonin, and that's why they crave other things. So that's an important part. You can actually get genetic testing, and you can do things to figure out, why you crave what you crave, and you can use natural things like supplementation, nutrition, and fitness, or connection, oxytocin. I've taught that. Anybody that's gone to my classes knows that's why connection is the opposite of addiction, because it suffices any of those reward deficiencies.
Right.
So
I love that, man. I love that.
The team at Diamond Detox is compassionate, helpful, and trained to support every step of the healing journey. Your loved one's path to a healthier, happier life starts with a free and easy 20 to 30-minute assessment over the phone or a few questions submitted online on the Diamond Detox website. Assessments and admissions occur 7 days a week, depending on availability. To begin the path to recovery, visit diamonddetox.com or call 385-988-5332.
Love that. I've basically kind of, for somebody who doesn't understand this, right? I'm sure that maybe there's some normies out there, like my wife, like she didn't really truly understand this. Right. I explain it. It's kind of like this, and I hope you can relate. Addiction it's basically like payday loan company. You go in for temporary relief, and for a while it helps. Yep. That's what we've been talking about. And it's the big lie that the brain believes. But eventually that interest starts to occur, and that debt comes calling.
You're upside down. And
And I wish I would have known that, right? And what you're describing is what I've come to understand, and how I've tried to convey to people is it's that pleasure threshold, right? It's where, okay, I felt that first time this good. Well, the next time I did it, it was maybe 70% of that, right? Or then 60, then 50. And then before I know it, I'm in the negative. I'm in
hedonic. What's that?
Hedonic.
Yeah.
The hedonic set point.
Oh yeah, exactly. And that, it's one of those things where you get to that point where you don't recognize yourself anymore, right? The guy looking back in the mirror, you're just like, who are you?
Pretty soon you have to just use whatever amount you were using just to feel normal. Like I remember, I'm like very much remember, like when an 80 milligram Oxycontin would just make me feel like normal. I could go to work. Think about how crazy that is, right?
We were all there, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and what a robbery.
Throwing up as you're sucking the green stuff off it.
Dude. Yeah. Oh, the coating on the outside.
You know what's crazy, dude? Even talking about it today, I have like a physical reaction to it. Yeah. I was watching, my wife and I were watching Dope Sick, the TV show series on Hulu. I couldn't, bro. I made it like 3 episodes in, and I'm like, I can't do it because I was like anxious, nauseous. I'm like, this is all this stuff.
When I think about it, I flex my arm because I used to shoot up, and so like my body does this. It's like, like whenever I think about it, I start getting like these cringes, like, nope, hide it out.
Oh man, dude.
Anyways.
So like you're saying, progressively it gets worse and worse.
Yep.
How long do you feel like you were like in what we would call active addiction? Like from 19 or maybe even a little bit before that? Because before that, it sounds like it was kind of one-time use,
it was here and there whenever I can kind of get, I'm an 18-year-old kid. 19, had a job, was working with my dad and making pretty good money, and was a pretty functional addict for a while. the habit got up to where I had to do an 80, or I couldn't show up to work.
Right.
And then I got into cocaine and that's when things started to spiral. Started doing heroin. And within 3 months I was done. I was pretty emotionally bankrupt. I, just couldn't realize how bad it got. It got bad fast. Meanwhile, you guys know my brother, right?
Tyson.
Me and Ty were using together, and we lost a few friends. I remember Dustin, buddy of mine in high school, overdosed. And if you know my brother, he's a little bit more extreme than I am in just about everything. I love him. He's my best friend. And it always has been. And so when those things were happening and I saw our addiction really progressing really fast, fear was my rock bottom, as I didn't want to lose. I didn't care about myself as much, but I didn't want to lose my brother or have that on my head or my shoulders the rest of my life. Something happened to him, right?
Sure.
Even though he's the one that got me into heroin, I got him into oxys, and he got me to smoking weed in the very beginning. So it's all his fault.
He's not here, so we'll call it his fault. For sure.
No, it's the biggest blessing of our lives going through this together. But yeah, I ended up in treatment March 16th, 2006. And didn't understand what it would take to get this thing behind me, right? I just thought maybe I could figure out how to use like a gentleman, or maybe I can just drink and get away with things, and not understanding the real issue was this emotional trauma, right? And all these feelings of unworthiness, and all these feelings of I just don't measure up, and all these feelings that I should be doing something. I should be in a different place, and that self-hate. And, what's interesting is I had a big ego back then. And I remember dating girls, and my wife now, she kind of knew me before I got sober a little bit. And she, I was the life of the party is kind of what that facade that I had on.
Sure.
I
that was the story you were telling yourself.
On that mask, right? But really my confidence was a huge facade. It was a crutch. Well, I wouldn't say a crutch, but I'm trying to think of the right words.
The mask. Jordan talks about the mask.
For
yeah,
sure.
you
Same
get
same
that.
thing with me when I went into treatment, and many times people thought I was just this arrogant, overconfident athlete, all these things, and inside I'm just this scared, puppy, and so it's totally we put that on just to protect ourselves.
Yep.
And we try to have fun and make fun just to avoid awkward, uncomfortable situations, whatever. It's
insecurities,
right? Yeah, and my self-esteem. Looking at you look at your life, and I grew up playing soccer, and I found a lot of my self-worth and my self-esteem in sports. And when I started getting into substances, and that just kind of got set aside, and then relationships, and then I got the church, and then I got school, and I didn't go on a mission, and got all these things that kind of came to a head. I got married when I was 19. That didn't work out. And so that's when things really got bad. I just had all this unresolved emotional stuff, right? That I just needed to deal with. And so ended up in treatment, was there for almost 4 months. Almost left 2 weeks into it. I had a really good therapist, Tracy.
Where were you at?
The Arc, Low Cottonwood.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Shout out to the Arc, all our buddies from the Arc. There's some good, I know a lot of good people, Dave. I know a lot of people went through the Arc, and there's some good people that helped me at that time in my life. Really good support. 2 weeks into treatment, wanted to leave. I hadn't really slept, coming off of heroin. You guys have been there. Yeah. You can't sleep. And I remember just going down to the shower and just trying to just like not go crazy because I couldn't sleep. And went to leave, and the Tracy says, "Hey, why are you trying to do this thing on your own?" And I'm like, "Well, what do you mean on my own?" He's like, "Don't you know there's a guy upstairs that can help you out?" I'm like, "Who's this guy upstairs?" I'm on the top floor of this loft. And he's like, "Yeah, go." He's like, "I challenge you to talk with him. Do a Hail Mary." He's like, I was self-will run riot, right? I wasn't listening to anybody. But I did a Hail Mary that night, hit my knees, try to prepare myself spiritually, reading some different things. And I felt, as I started to pray, just like a warm blanket right? Just that feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm okay. So, that's when I knew like God's really there. Like he really cares about me. Because I asked, I'm like, are you really, I'm like, is this, I was at that point where I needed to know if I could recover from this person that I was, right? And, God showed up for me that night. And the next day I showed up I was actually able to sleep that night, the whole night after that prayer, which was really cool. And I hadn't prayed like that ever in my life, right? And so next day I show up to group, and in his co-ed programs, Karen, sweetheart, looks at me. She said, "You look different." Like, what do you mean? She's like, you look like you're glowing. You look like different. You look kind of happy. And that's like the first time I realized I actually had the awareness of like, oh my gosh, I kind of feel like light, right? I feel better.
You made some space for some higher power to come in. Yeah.
Yep. And
it.
that's kind of where my recovery really started. That's when I started asking the right questions. It's when I started looking at these steps, right? Step one, right? Yeah. Oh my gosh, I guess I really do have a problem. Yeah. Step two, oh my gosh. Oh, wow. Step two was fascinating to me. Like, man, a higher power that can help me,
right.
Like, geez, that's when I started to take things really, really serious, and I got into it hard. 30 days into it, liking the guy, looking back in the mirror, could trust the guy again, and just having the conversations with my family, working through some resentments, being able to talk with help, right? Our family up to this point has probably been the most emotionally constipated family. Chris Groves, one of our therapists, told my mom that our family was the most emotionally constipated family she'd ever worked with.
I'm sure she loved that. Dude.
Oh yeah. My parents, they've done so much work. Mom went back to school. She's an LMFT now, licensed marriage and family therapist. Dad, so proud of him. He calls every family member that comes into the program and invites them to family group. They've got a family group. They've got 8 classes. They're family education support classes, different topics, over 1,000
Just
people.
So people who are listening are aware, you're talking about Renaissance Ranch.
Yes.
When you say like, right? So you're a co-owner, right?
Minority owner and COO. Yeah.
Got ya, of Renaissance Ranch. Yep. I just don't think we'd said the name. And so you're talking about this place.
One of the best family programs, I think, out there. Like as far as the virtual with his parents, the commitment to it, the size of it, like it's awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty obvious at this point. I'm a big fan of the ranch. Like they're not an official sponsor, but I show them love all the time, right? I have tons of people on. I'm friends with a lot of the dudes that work there. And frankly, I'm a little bit envious of like the camaraderie and right. Cause like the position that I'm in now, that community outreach, like I'm kind of a guy just going around, you know what I mean? Like kicking it with different people. And when I go to the ranch, like you can feel the vibe. Like you can feel that
deep
connection.
Brotherhood connection.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, there really is. And I remember when I went through the arc, I got out and, started going to meetings, and I just remember, meeting guys from the ranch and just realizing like these guys, they know what they're like. I want what they have. Like they had their own, their own vibe, right? It was cool.
I remember the first time I saw the Band of Brothers bracelet, and I'm like, okay, that's badass, right? Like, dude, that's cool, man.
Thick one, the leather one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool, man. And so yeah, I got funny story. I'm sitting.
So you never actually went through the ranch?
Nope.
You went through ARC.
Yep. Went through the ARC. Yep.
Okay.
Got out. Tyson came to try to break me out of rehab.
Yeah, he told that story.
He told that story, yeah.
In episode 165, for those of you who are listening, if you want to hear that story, go listen to 165. Yeah.
But yeah, Ty went. So Ty, went to the ARC, didn't work out, had a relapse, and then that's when he decided to go through the ranch. He had a pretty cool experience where he got sat on by a woman when he's trying to steal some Levi's. Did you tell that story?
Yeah, he told that story. He said that was his rock bottom, was literally laying in the rocks at the bottom of a parking lot while pedestrians and security were all,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he actually looked her up from the police report. I don't know if he ever talked about this, but he found her and told her thank you. And turns out she was in recovery, and they had a really cool conversation. But
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's way cool.
Yeah. But yeah, so went through treatment, got out of treatment, went back to drinking 9 months later. Thought, I can drink like a gentleman. I just had.
How old are you at this point?
21.
And that's the most common thing
Oh,
that
yeah.
happens with people that are under 30
Oh, yeah.
that try to do this recovery thing is because
Yep.
they're
Not your
like,
drug of choice.
right, I'm 21 now. I can drink legally. I feel like this is a milestone in my life that I'll look back and miss out on if I don't do it. And they end up right back where they,
Yep. So I started drinking, and over time it got worse and worse. And I just really missed, how I felt when I was doing the deal, right? I kind of miss how I felt where that wasn't my solution to my stress. Was at a meeting, the men's meeting last Saturday, and John picked up 50 years. And he talked, really simple. I love how simply he put this. He says, guys like us, we feel things so intently. We have stress. And if we don't have something to relieve that stress, we're going to drink.
Yeah.
And it was that simple. And it's that's really it.
Yeah. Healthy coping versus unhealthy coping.
Well, and I would
period.
say even more than stress, any kind of unmanageability,
Right.
Inward or outward, right?
Yep.
Probably more inward unmanageability, like the inability to deal with thoughts and emotions that lead you to seek out a substance to escape from,
Yep.
right?
Anything that makes you feel unstable, uncomfortable, like you want to control that. We want to control that and get back to a chill, even state. Our goal is to be this like container of just peace. We like excitement. We like to go up and down a little bit, but we really kind of want to be like, I'm in control. And if we're out of control, how do I get in control? And if we don't have some healthy coping mechanism, we're going to start seeking external.
And I also think too that there's a genetic part of it, right?
For sure.
And I don't want to go too much into that deep dive because today it's your story, but I bet if you looked up, your family tree somewhere at some point.
I was always told, don't drink. We've got alcoholics in the family. That's for sure. That's for
DRT2
sure in
gene.
there. Oh, for sure, man.
Yeah.
Hi, my name's Jim Huffman. I'm the founder and CEO of Wasatch Crest Treatment Services. We're located in Heber City, Utah, amongst the beautiful Wasatch Mountains. We offer a full continuum of care, and what that means is that, we can support our clients and their families from day one all the way through their entire recovery journey. Our goal here at Wasatch Crest is for this to be your last time in treatment and the beginning of a life in recovery that will bring you joy and fulfillment and a sense of healing to you and your family and to those who love you.
To learn more about Wasatch Crest, call me, Jared, directly at 385-644-1500 and check out the website at wasatchcresttreatment.com.
So that's the story.
That's pretty much it.
That's the P. Diddy story.
No, that's the dirty piece. The recovery side is going back to the stress side is I've had to get really good at finding ways to relieve stress. And just, it gets weird. You have to get new tools.
Creative.
Right. I run groups, haven't in a bit, but for a while there, every week I was running a group at the ranch with the guys. I want to get back to doing more of that because I love that. But I'd always talk about.
How weird.
Let's get weird.
Oh, it gets weird, dude.
We've been pretty calm. We don't have Doc Sellers on here to throw out some weird. We're gonna get weird here.
Like, are we talking like
some
coffee
people- some
enema
people would
weird? Or are we
say-
talking about like?
Some people would say cold plunging is not weird, but it's like you're kind of weird.
It's
if you
outside
do
the
it
box
every
a
day.
little.
Yeah, it's
Right?
unconventional.
I don't do it every day, but at least 3 times a week, I'm in a cold plunge and I'm in a sauna, and I'm just I run groups. I tell people, when Dawson was 3 years old, you can get him those toys where you have the different shapes. You got to put them in the box, and then there's like the hammer. You got to hammer him into the box like a star.
Oh yeah.
So he's got the star trying to slam the hammer into the thing, and then he picks up the hammer the wrong way, and he's trying to it's just. And so like tools for recovery, I've kind of thought are a lot like that. Sometimes they work. Sometimes you have to figure out a different way to make them work. Spirituality is a big one for me, figuring out how I fit my ideology into my experience that I've had to what I feel works for me today has been a process. How I serve, the awareness of when I'm getting in self-control, or for me, it's more selfishness. I'm pretty naturally selfish. I've had to just come to that term.
We're all needy.
I'm
in this
pretty
space.
naturally selfish. And so the more that I can be or have people around me. My wife's, number one, she will point out, Press, like you're not spending enough time with your kids. And that hurts, right? Or Press, you're getting over obsessed with playing Call of Duty, and that sucks. Or Press, you're working out too much, right? It started off 3 or 4 nights a week, and now you're going twice a day. I get obsessed with things.
But the fact that you have self-awareness is huge, right?
Or a support system to keep you self-aware.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's really it. Because by the time I realize it, I'm usually too far gone to hit the reverse button. But
the counselor
Takes
in
a
me,
village.
like,
it
that,
does.
right? That flag pops up because it's like you can't change something you're not aware of. So the fact that you
You
said,
can't see everything yourself.
I can be a selfish person.
Yes.
Like, yeah. Like I joke all the time with people that know me pretty well, and I'm like, the narcissist in me
yeah.
wants to do this,
Yep.
right? Because I have those traits, I have those tendencies.
Yep.
But if you know something, right, if you're aware of it, then you can change it.
Yeah.
Right. It's the people that are like, anyways. So that's good.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
And what did like early recovery look like for you? Because a lot of everybody's story, I feel, not everybody, but a lot of people's stories are pretty similar.
Yep.
But their recovery journey isn't always the same.
Right.
And today you sit here, the owner of multiple businesses, right?
Mm-hmm.
Team Recovery is kind of your like baby, which is one of our sponsors. But like, I'm sure you didn't just overnight become a CEO and owner.
Right.
Like, tell me that journey.
It started realizing that my self-esteem was broken. Right. That's where it started. Right. In early recovery, taking off those masks was hard. Right. That was hard. Having those, I call them crucial conversations, were hard. Right. Starting to make the decisions that I didn't want to make, that I knew I needed to, was hard. And the self-esteem for me started coming by keeping those simple promises to myself. And slowly but surely, I started to build what, I feel like is a pretty healthy, healthy piece of, confidence in looking at, oh my gosh, I'm actually progressing.
Yeah. Being honest with yourself, being honest with others.
Yeah.
If you say you're going to do something, you do it.
Yep.
Right.
Showing up.
All the recovery principles.
Yep. Getting into service positions was huge for me, right? Getting outside myself, showing up for the new guy. I was a facilitator for about 2 years for the LDS 12-step program.
Nice.
I loved AA, loved that. Just showing up, right? A lot of meetings in early recovery. A lot of meetings. Just.
Did you ever have a job that you just hated, but you had to hold on to?
Not necessarily.
No?
No.
Okay.
No. Why?
I would just ask.
There's something there. Let's hear about it.
Okay. All right. So I went from being like a teacher and a coach, football coach and baseball coach, to the very first job that I got, like in my earliest of recoveries, was being a temp janitor at a junior high.
Okay.
I saw it in my head already before he said that.
Did you?
You're a total janitor. I can see it. He's got a janitor vibe.
And like I can remember being like, dude, if I got clean, right? I went from being a high school teacher and coach and a head coach at that to being this janitor at a junior high.
How humbling is that, man?
Right?
You
And
needed
so-
that, though. You probably needed that.
I probably did. And so it's just a common, and I love that question because different people are like, oh yeah, you know what? And also listen, the addict who's in active addiction isn't most likely going to listen to this. You know who's listening to this? People who are in treatment centers, people who are looking for inspiration and looking for motivation and want to hear stories of recovery. And so it's like, I think it's important for those guys to hear, if you're in that position, just keep showing up.
Yep.
Just keep doing the deal, because that's not going to be your reality forever.
It's not.
Yep. Just do what you say you're going to do and show up.
Yeah.
I tell people, like, even with business, with any, like, just do that. If you start a business or go on a job, like if you say you're going to do it, or you say this is the price and you do that and you do an average job,
Sure.
That's all it takes.
Yep.
Just be average, but do what you say you're going to do.
Yep.
And you just get further and further along. That's really what it's all about. Doesn't matter what job it is, just progress.
Yeah.
Every job gets you a little further, a little more experience, a little more, education, all the things. So,
So Jordan is my co-host. I feel like I've kind of done the personal side of this thing, and I'm all out of ammo, bro. I've shot all my shots. So pick it up, man. Where do we go from here?
well, I wanted to go because the coping mechanisms are so big, and I'll make a little plug. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, we really do get a spinoff with Radical Wellbeing podcast coming soon, and we'll do a recipe for success card. We'll have viewers turn in one and get some free supplements for doing that. But it's a huge thing for people to have just a list of coping mechanisms that are so helpful while we're going through our recovery. There's so many things we can do to feel better and to feel good and have something. When you're stressed, when you're tired, when you're halts, hungry, angry, lonely, tired, stressed, horny, is what he mentioned the other day.
Yeah. My halt has 2
Any
H's.
of those things. You got to have something there that's like written, easy to access, or someone easily to call, like a sponsor that can help turn you around in a healthy way. And there's so many healthy ways to feel good. And what came up a little bit ago when you were talking about it is choose your hard. I did this class often when I did groups, and I'd draw like a grid on the whiteboard, and I'd say, okay, here's addiction and here's healthy lifestyle.
Yep.
Right. And like addiction, there's a easy, quick fix to some of these, feelings that don't feel very good.
Yep.
But is chasing your drug, using all your money, depleting your health and energy. That's not easy.
Yeah, no
That's
question.
hard.
That is real hard.
That is hard. Anyone who's gone through addiction, it is hard to chase all that. Versus lifestyle, you got to be a little more disciplined. You got to put some energy and time and effort into your routines and your lifestyle and stuff. So really it's about choose your heart. But here's the cool part. The lifestyle, healthy lifestyle, you are growing and you are getting better and stronger and all that over here with a similar amount of effort as this hard. But you are dying slowly and you are depleting and you are getting fatigued and you are killing yourself slowly over here. But choose your heart, right? It's a similar amount of effort. It really is when it comes down to it.
Right.
But one of them you're growing and building and one of you're dying and shrinking.
And that can be used across so many different like perspectives, right? Because you're talking about like lifestyle and well-being and
just some meal planning, so a little 15 minutes of exercise, just some of those efforts.
You could even use that in like business and either being a worker or an owner, right? Like at one point,
choose your heart.
You remember this. I was looking at purchasing a franchise and being a business owner, and there's a lot of
pros and cons.
Choose your heart, right? And so, yeah, man, like that works across so many different perspectives.
And really it comes down to what I talked to clients about back in the day is creating pros and cons lists and being good at doing that.
Right.
Any big decision, a job, a car, maybe a significant other. Now it feels weird saying that out loud now. But any of those decisions,
I think
it's like
it's
do a
smart.
pros and cons list, right? Like what do I like here? And I did that with people trying to leave treatment. Hey, like I'll support
Let's do
you.
pros
I
and
think,
cons.
do a pros and cons. Like why are you here? What are the cons of staying here? What are the pros of staying here? Weigh it out. Talk about it for a minute. Let us help you talk about it for a minute and then reason a little bit. And if you can get back in the frontal lobe, there's a good chance you'll stick it out and it'll be for the better. But pros and cons lists are kind of fun to do if you're willing to do it. Just pause for a minute,
Right.
Yeah, I like it. Any type of specific coping skills that you use, Preston? Like in today I mean,
well,
you're a business owner. You mentioned stress as one of your big triggers, right?
It's not that hard, bro.
Oh man, no. In the business actually is not that hard. What's hard is managing
I was joking. It is
the
pretty freaking
family
hard.
right now with the business. I got 4 kids.
The balance.
Yeah, I got a 12-year-old, 10-year-old, 3 and a 1-year-old. And my 3 and 1-year-old are both in diapers. My 3-year-old's just starting to get potty trained. And so trying to juggle it all at once it's a lot. So coping skills are just trying to disconnect from as much as I can and focus. I mean, I just turned 40. And so things are, and you realize when you have different birthdays, like my time goes by so fast. And it's like, dude, I need to try to be more aware of where I'm spending my time. And so today my recovery looks a lot different than it did, early on. Today it looks, what am I doing for self-care, and how am I balancing that with showing up for the people I love in my life? Everyone has emotional buckets, right? If mine's empty, I can't help others.
Absolutely.
At the same time, what fills my bucket is when I'm helping others. But there's a balance there as well, because if I spend too much time on others, I have other things fall apart, where I come home to 300 emails, or I've got, if I disassociate for even a day or two, it's like all hell's breaking loose. I've got all these things. I get overwhelmed, and I've got to hit the cold plunge, hit the gym, and just take a refresher for a bit, and then get into it when I'm in a more sound mind. But
so just finding that balance, right?
It is, man.
You know what's crazy is he's been like serious faced almost this whole time, with a couple exceptions. And like, I'm not trying to get all gooey, but the second he started talking about his kids, he had the biggest smile on his face.
So we've made developing an app very affordable, and we do it really quick.
We are the only mobile app development company in the behavioral health space, and the only constant throughout a client's entire life cycle, from pre-admissions to 10 years sober.
Now with new technology, we can develop a high-quality app in a fraction of the time. Now that we've done this with hundreds of partners all across the country, we can get this done within 6 weeks. An hour of your time is all it requires per week over that time, and just like that, your app's done. Developed on the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store.
On the front end, we know we can help increase conversions. While the patient's with you, we work on retention and engagement, and moving on into post-treatment, we collect a lot of readmissions and referrals.
Get your agency an app. Give them a call at 866-824-2281 or visit their website at teamrecovery.io.
That was cool, man.
Well,
it's cool just to like see it and recognize it.
I'd love to challenge anyone listening to really take a moment. I did this in my masterminds group, and I may have mentioned this in another podcast, so I apologize if I'm repeating it, but it's so important to me. Where if you can really take a moment in a meditation state to just breathe, get into that state, focus on your heartbeat or your breath for 3 to 5 breaths, and then really picture your death. It's crazy, like to really picture yourself dying, whatever way you want to create, like you die.
Is this with or without DMT?
Without.
Okay. All right.
No, this was a sober, mindful exercise I did, and you picture your death, you feel it, and then you go deep into that state, and you really think, okay, now what is this state trying to teach me? What is this spiritual growth I'm trying to create from experiencing this feeling? What did I not do enough of? And then you think about that, and then you go, you feel that, and you go back. Okay, what else is this feeling trying to teach me? What else did I not do enough of? What did I wish I would have done more before I died? And doing that exercise for me was just so huge. I just remember thinking about my family and my kids, like so deeply, because I was willing to go far into that feeling of like actually feeling my death and really being like, oh my gosh, like what did I not leave behind for them? That security. That prosperity, that time, and that all those things. And I was like, gosh, that is so important to me. Right. Like I knew it was important, but actually going deep into my own death, I was like, man, that is so important. And that was huge for me. And then it was like, there's a growth. There was 5 layers. I kept going back into the spiritual teacher of that moment, his family. And then it was service to others. And then it was compassion. And it was, there was a few different things that it's like, man, if I can focus on making sure my family's good, that I get to help people as much as I want, and that I get to have a connection with my higher power and that fluid feeling, those 3 came out to me as just like, I remember just feeling like floating. I was just like, if I can focus on those 3 things every day, I'll be good. Like I will
you won't
die
have any
happy.
regrets. Yeah. It
was beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah,
experience.
I love that. What's funny about that is I had a similar exercise at working as a counselor with clients, like that would get caught up on all the busy, attractive stuff. And it's like, but what's really important, right? Yeah. And literally I'd have them go outside and like lay in the dirt and imagine, like, close your eyes. This is it. You're done, right? And come back. That's a beautiful process.
Regrets do you have?
I used to ask them to dig their own hole, and then I was told that was inappropriate.
That's a little too far,
grim.
That's why.
But the couple that I did before they caught on to that were very effective. Like people would lay in the little thing that and they would like cry, bro. It was so. Anyways, maybe I was borderline a little too intense. But talk to us about life in recovery today.
Yeah.
like, I know a big part of your recovery is like your business, right?
Yeah.
Team recovery.
Yeah.
Let's talk about team recovery.
Yeah. That's what I'm like. Roll into team recovery. Like, how did that grow? How did that start? It's a pretty cool little concept.
Yeah. Yeah. During COVID, less people showing up to events, like you mentioned, George, connection is the opposite of addiction. Right. And that's, there's nothing more true than that.
Pretty universal.
Yeah. And Ty and I had a conversation one day, and he said, "Hey, I wonder if there was an app or something out there that can help with people in addiction." And I started doing demos. I looked at Cared For. They have a good app. Weed Connect have a great app. Both of them are, I remember thinking, man, this is awesome. I remember doing demos with these. I'm like, if these two made a baby, it'd be like the perfect app, right? If there could, yeah. So never intended to turn anything into a business. Just wanted to find something that was a solution for people in recovery, which, by the way, was really personal to me, right? My brother, my best friend, went through the ranch. He went to every alumni meeting for 2 years straight. Never missed one. The brotherhood, I saw that, witnessed that. They adopted me into it, right? And it's just, as you guys know, it's powerful.
Oh yeah, it's totally cool.
And people get sober in groups. I remember when we bought the ranch in 2014, I worked directly under H.R. Brown, who's the founder. He's become a good friend and mentor of mine. And, he always told me, keep whatever you need to do, like, please keep the alumni alive and well. That was like his thing. And he never even started that, right? But it happened organically, but he supported it. The guys just wanted to have a weekly meeting every Wednesday where they can get together, and it's kind of a chit meeting, and it's kind of, it's a culture thing. And
I was just going to say, if you don't have a solid alumni, your program doesn't have culture.
Oh yeah.
Like, the culture is driven by the alumni.
The alumni is a heartbeat of the program. Yep.
Let's just say 100%. This. I've worked for different programs out there. Yep. The programs that have true rich culture have a strong alumni.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
And the program I went through did not, right? The ARC didn't have an alumni program that met and fellowshipped and had a culture. And I fell off pretty quick, right? And so I didn't know how unique the ranch was until after we purchased the ranch, and I started as the executive director and never worked in this industry at all. Luckily HR stayed on for a year and kind of helped groom me into it. But it was so special to see that aspect of the business that really wasn't looked at as like a business piece. It was more of like the mission behind what we did.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. And so it was what can we do to keep this alive? Okay, let's do some events. Let's have food there every Wednesday. And that's really it. It's not much to it. It's just supporting it. Right. Mm-hmm. And there's a little bit more to that, but having the champions in place, having the framework of the meeting in place, having it be a safe place for people to come to support the new guy is what it's really all about, right? I mean, look at our experiences when we're sitting in treatment, right? And we want to leave. That guy that comes and picks up 30 days, 60 days, this talking about, hey, I was in your shoes, last 30, 60 days ago even, or the guy that picks up 5 years. It's like, hey, stay, guys, I promise, stay 30 more days. Right? If you think you want to leave, like, don't, talk to somebody, right? Like, it's kind of that culture and that brotherhood that during COVID, I was really concerned with. And so, looked at finding some solutions that can help, keep people together, help keep track of people a little bit. People leave treatment, they get new phone numbers, right?
Mm-hmm. Hopefully.
I remember sitting down with Brian Heaton in the office and going through spreadsheets and Hotmail, he's not answering. Hey, do we have a phone number for him? It's just really hard to track people. And so, that was like my thought. If we could just have an app that everyone just downloaded when they leave, just to keep everyone in the know of what we're doing, or just a way to reach out or give them some resources, give them a hand up on the way, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That's where all that came from. And
that's where the idea of team recovery kind of came along. Was its primary focus, or if I'm understanding correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, was really alumni driven.
Keep people connected.
Keeping people connected.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that was the idea. So we launched an app. And it was super buggy at first, right? It took a long time to really get it figured out. And, and just started hearing how much value it was giving people. I mean, I had a daily check-in, so it had some accountability, gave people structure.
Let's pull this up, dude. So Wasatch Crest has an app, and I work at Wasatch Crest.
Yep.
And I had Ian Rader walk me through this bad boy just Tuesday.
Yep.
Shout out to Ian, dude. I love that guy. He's such a good dude.
The Team Recovery built that app.
And it's fantastic.
And they're all a little bit different because every culture is a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everyone has a little bit, some different things they want to have in there, but the core of it is just to keep people connected
and engaged. Like you've talked about the alumni, and that's where the vision started.
Yep.
But I see this and like the daily track from a clinical standpoint, having people check in, having people fill out weekly assessments, having people report. And then the cool part is then you get like alerts if, let's say, their PHQ-9, that's for depression, it's a self-assessment for depression, indicates high. The app, boom, sends an alert to the clinician, hey, Johnny or Susie's
might be struggling.
Like that is so much better than filling out a piece of paper and scanning it into an
so valuable.
EMR and hoping that somebody looks at it.
So valuable.
One of the saddest things I've ever heard working in recovery, and I won't name the place or whatever, but the situation was a client came and said, hey, I'm leaving. And I, being a clinical director, I was like, okay, let's talk about it, right? Let's talk through this and help me understand the decision behind it. And this person said, for 4 weeks, I've been filling this thing out and I have the highest score possible and nobody said a word to me about it. My therapist hasn't said a word to me about it.
Look at this. This is how much Jared cares. Like he still feels that. You can feel his emotion, and he cares.
That pissed me off. Right. I will say this: that therapist got written up that day. Right?
As he
had we had an app that could send an alert. And to be fair to the therapist, when you have a caseload of whatever,
the system's not set up right to notify you or whatever,
double digits, right? So over 10, like it's hard to kind of manage and look at everything. And so just for the simple convenience of like getting an alert, that's freaking game changer, dude.
No, and I'll speak to the app for sure, because what's really cool about the app, and I've been there since early on, I loved working with Preston.
Jordan was like customer 4.
We've
got over 130 programs we've done after.
And knowing Jordan called you every day, and he's like, "Hey, bro, I got an idea.
Soundboard, we'd golf.
I got an idea. Let's do this."
Jordan's a stud.
I feel like I had a little bit of part in some of the development of it, because
Jordan's one of the most creative dudes I've ever met.
I just love helping people. I love.
If you would just care a little less.
Just care a little less. Yeah, that's probably true. But I love that it's so customized. You know, it doesn't matter what you want to do. Like they can do it. Like for us, one of my favorite things and what we use, because ours is different. We don't have the outpatient and the alumni.
Let's clarify at Diamond Detox.
Okay. And so, what I wanted to do is really have a platform for our staff to be able to have competency quizzes, CARF accreditation, compliance and things like that. So we built that together.
Oh, bro, that's genius.
And like it's, in the few years we've been doing that, like when CARF comes, it's like, here you go.
For people who have no idea what CARF is, what is CARF?
It's our accreditation. So it's kind of our governing entity that makes sure we have high quality standards in our program. And so CARF and JACO are the two main ones that accredit these treatment facilities. And so there's I think 64,000 checkpoints that you have to keep up with to be accredited. And so a lot of them are, staff and training and compliance things, checking the fridge temperatures and all the different things. And so they've helped us create that we can just have staff just go through and put the temperature logs in and do the CARF compliance quizzes and do those things. And that's what we use it most for. But that's because we're different, right? We don't have that alumni outpatient in just a detox.
Right.
And so, but it customized what we needed, which is super awesome. But it's so huge. They can do I can't even mention all the things. Working with them enough times, like reward systems and alumni and calendars and therapy sessions and like whatever you want in your program, they can build for you. That's
Yeah.
what's cool about it.
I feel like
Well,
it's an important part right here for me to reread the tagline, because what you just shared is golden. It's not just for treatment centers, right? Team Recovery builds custom apps for all types of treatment providers. You're a detox, and they customized it and made it applicable for what you need, having all in one area. That's dude. It's genius. I wish I would have thought of it. Have the money for it.
I think Preston's awesome for doing that.
Early on, we would develop all sorts of different apps like that. We still do a little bit, some custom, but we've really had to refine what. In the book Good to Great talks about, there's 3 circles, right? If you want to really have a successful model, you have to have your economic driver, the thing you're most passionate about, and those two we had to really focus on, right? Because the economic driver necessarily wasn't working because you can't serve so many masters. We had to get into that flywheel, which was to try and find something that was duplicatable, something that was scalable, and something that we're passionate about and that actually really worked well. And so we over time really had to work on developing a wireframe for an alumni app. And so we have that now. After case studying and business review, talking to all our clients to see what works in the analytics, and you can see what people are using. So we've dialed it down pretty well. What we found though is the technology, you guys, is about 30% of the work. To make
it's integrating
to make this piece successful, right? Our relationships, we bring on a client, and this is why we had some clients churn in the beginning, and clients who have churned, it's of course on us because we didn't do a good enough job implementing it. And that could be hard if you're trying to do so many different things. And so what we had to get really good at is, okay, what do we really care about? We want to help programs develop out their alumni. How do we do that? Well, the technology is a supportive tool for that. It's not the end all be all. This is what you need to make it work. So what we had to do is actually reverse engineer how you actually develop out an alumni program and put that framework together. And we've put together what we call the 23-point proven process now. And the app is just 3 of those points. And so a lot of that is consulting, looking at where are you guys at? What have you been doing? Here's a framework that works, helping them identify a champion, getting the champion bought in, helping the champion understand budgets, helping the programs understand ROI from an alumni perspective, looking at their program. Now that we've worked with over 130 programs, we can look at a program in 5 minutes and realize, what
might be missing,
where we need to start. Right?
Yeah.
And usually it's the question, how many percentages of your admissions came from your alumni referrals or from your alumni, right? Alumni readmissions or referrals. What percentage is that? I'll tell you right now, 50% of treatment programs out there have no idea. They have no idea.
I can tell you why, because from my perspective and in a business perspective, I'm not trying to be cynical here, right? Because we all have payables, things that we got to pay, but alumni, you're not billing for that level of care, right? And so if you're a treatment center who's trying to operate and trying to rock and roll, you're really putting a lot of focus into getting people in, getting them help, and then getting them out and back reintegrated into life. What you just said, I don't think a lot of places appreciate or are aware of.
Right. It's the
is
lifeblood.
Your alumni can do a huge part of that for you.
Yep. Your brand, right?
Right.
Your brand. That is your brand. If you really care, like if you're in this space, if you're a treatment provider, and 9 out of 10 of them, guys, are good providers, by the way.
Yeah.
There's a thing in this industry. There's a lot of bad providers. It's not. Most of them, 90% of them are trying to do good. They just don't know the best ways to go about doing that, a lot of them.
And then they may get lost in the money and not the people.
Right. Well, there's that saying, no money, no mission, right? Yeah. And so there's a piece of this where providers who've been around a while, and it takes a while to have an alumni community, right? Starting to develop it early on is obviously works out a lot easier than trying to do it later on. But getting that piece going is your brand. People are going to refer. But here's another piece a lot of people miss is we're dealing with the highest recidivism in healthcare.
Unfortunately.
Population, right? So we've got people who digress in symptomology. They have, they relapse. Right. 3 times before, August 20th, 2010, right. I was from when I went to treatment, right, before I finally, got it. Right. And so people, I mean, how many programs do we know all our real close friends? If any of them was it their first time? Probably not, right? It's usually 2, 3, 4 times before they have, long-term sobriety.
Right.
It takes a while to figure things out, this emotional complex issue that we deal with. And so if you create a safe space, if you got an alumni program, first of all, when people stop showing up to alumni, people notice, right?
If you've created that culture.
Right.
Just
Correct.
like AA. It's a similar thing.
Right.
It's accountability. It's a tribe. It's a community.
Connection, accountability.
Recidivism as a whole goes down, right?
Right.
Like most treatment programs like to say, oh, we got half our people sober, 75. No, you didn't. No.
But I would also argue, I would also argue that one of the reasons why people go back out is because they're not the 12th step, continuing to carry a message, right? It's like, an outpatient, I would tell a lot of the the people that were getting ready to leave the program, I would tell them your responsibility now is to help out the new guy who's coming into outpatient. Yep. And I can tell you this, because sometimes we can be selfish. People struggle with that piece. And I truly believe that because they're missing out on that service, it's a part of why they go back out.
Service is one of the, if not the most important part to make you feel good naturally, spiritually. And there's people that say it's a spiritual disease. I don't know if I fully believe that, but there's a definite factor.
My grandmother's always told me that if you're not feeling good, go do something to help somebody and then see how you feel. She would always say that.
Do you know how many clients have contacted me at a year and have said, hey, Jared, can I get a job working in the treatment center that you're at? Why? Because they felt a connection to the treatment center that they went to, and now they're looking for a way to give back and be of service. And to be honest, a lot of the programs just don't have it. They don't have that alumni piece. But if they did, those individuals, it's like, hey, how about let's start you in our alumni and kind of see how you do there, and kind of vet you to see if you'd eventually become a good case manager or a good tech or a good transportation person. Or there's tons of entry-level jobs in this industry. I think that alumni is a great way to kind of start to get a foot in the door in some of that stuff.
Well, I think the ranch does it better than anyone, in my opinion. They don't, correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I've seen, they don't always go by the industry standard. Because I was scared early on with a new company at Diamond Tree, and we created a full continuum and an alumni program. And when clients would come back within a few months and they're doing good and they're so grateful what we did to help, they want to turn around and help others. So they want to work with you. And I'd have clinical directors and others be like, nope, you can't. They got to get their year mark.
Right.
So there's some wisdom to that. But I kind of really appreciate how the ranch, I don't think you look always at a year mark. And you would just bring people in and have you work with them, and they work for you, and you really bring people in that have come in there. It's created that the app is even created by addicts for addicts, right? That's what you guys have said before too. And so you really bring them back in, and so you have this culture of people who have gone through it, and I really appreciated that. I was look to you guys, be like, hey, a year is great to look at, and maybe you guys do go towards that more now. But I feel like there was times where I think whether it's 3 months or 3 years, like they're fragile.
It was usually always really close to a year if we've done that, right? Because you got to be careful there. But I think your point is quality over quantity. I mean, we know guys who are 10 years sober that have, they're white knuckling it because they're not.
You guys had a good pulse, I think, on the ones that are like, I think you've got a pretty good base. Let's give you an opportunity here, but you created a safe place for them to fail, but to succeed. And I think you employ a lot of people in recovery.
So, Colton Morgan, I want to say this. We'll have him on the podcast. He's become one of my best friends. He was our alumni director at the ranch. I saw him fight, right? He got his kids back, marriage back, and just cares so much about recovery. And he helped grow the census. He initiated what we call squads now, which is kind of a self-governed
That's cool.
model to help take brain damage off clinicians as we grew, and help bring guys closer together by having weekly meetings. They came up with squad names like Gryffindor, the things that he did was just amazing. And so when Team Recovery started picking up, we sat down and he ended up working as essentially a co-founder of Team Recovery. So we'll have him on next time. But Colt is more passionate about the alumni program than anybody I've ever met. And he's one that takes a point in when we're working with a program to help walk them through how to really get that going, how to operationalize that, which takes about 90 days, and working with their staff and really starting from and giving them, we call it the APD, their Alumni Program Development Strategy, right? Bullet point by bullet point, step by step, what we need to do to really make this thing work.
Yeah, to be successful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we've hit on the alumni quite a bit. I think that's perfectly clear. And for the sake of not turning this into a Joe Rogan podcast, I want to talk a little bit about what really impressed me is for the client, the one who's in the building, what this app's good for. I went onto my app here with Wasatch Crest, and there's a little recovery toolbox, right? I got my sobriety tracker on here. Yep. I got find a meeting, and it'll, based on your location, it can find you as long as you give access to it, and it'll show you where you can hit meetings. Recovery media. How do I get on every single account that you have and put this podcast on there? Right?
Done.
A little selfish.
But
dude, me and Jordan have talked about this. Like, what you consume is so powerful. And if you're in early recovery, you're right. If you're listening to your buddy's war story and drug journaling, you're going to relapse. Yep. If you're listening to like messages of hope and people's recovery stories like you're doing today, right, Jordan? Like your
ways to cope and all the things.
Yeah, like your brain's in a way you're picking. So I love the recovery media, recovery library, right? I mean, if I click on this, there's daily reflections, there's the 12x12, there's recovery dharma, there's Brene Brown, there's atomic habits. I mean, dude, this is some
many
really
free resources for the client. And that's what's so cool about the culture of team recovery. And Preston is like, he truly genuinely built this to help people, like, period. Like, he's smart with business, so he knew how to balance and try to create something that could be, grown and duplicated. But that was the cool part, is like, it's so much of it is just to be a resource to help people.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is admirable about the app, for sure.
I got to slip this in there, dude. It was a group conscious effort between a ton of good dudes. Brian Heaton to Lane, our admissions director, to my sponsor, Steve Matt. I mean, there's been so many good people, right? That helped, and I took ideas from that we case studied things on, and it's been a whole effort, man. God works through other people. I'll tell you that. There's some ideas on that's not going to work, and it worked. I'm like, okay, I guess you're right.
Dude, I love it. I love it. Yeah.
When you were talking about Colton, by the way, I was looking at my phone. He was probably when I was doing, actually, he'll ping me like once a month, maybe still, and just send me like the daily message.
Oh yeah.
Daily things. Reflection. It's just great. Yeah. I just love it. So I was reading a couple just to see if I had any good points to share. But
well, speaking of what you just said, God kind of works through other people.
Yep.
Dude, yesterday, the daily reflection from the 12x12 hit me so hard, and I'll just go ahead and read it. It says, since it is true that God comes to me through people, I can see that by keeping people at a distance, I also keep God at a distance. God is nearer to me than I think, and I can experience him by loving people and allowing people to love me.
Mm.
That, when you said that, I was like, yesterday's daily reflection, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, God talks to you through other people. Like, I love that, man. That's, by loving other people and allowing other people to love me, like that, man.
Throw in my tagline. Can I throw my tagline now? People helping people.
Boom.
Like, to me, that is what makes the world go round, and I just so firmly believe in that, and I just think that's like really what it's all about. And when I can get more people to help other people, and those people help those people, it's what it's all about, Yeah. And I believe in it so strongly. And that's what I want on my tombstone, for crying out loud. Like, it's what it's about to me. People helping people. So once you get done, people helped you, turn around, help others. There's so many ways you can use people helping people. And it's just what it's all about. Like, when we get on calls, talking about your new recovery con idea, it's like, let's talk about how we can create something to help more people.
Right,
sorry.
I'm just kidding. You let it leak.
Just the idea of it, it all comes down to just trying to create a way to help people.
Dude, I love that.
You do a good job of that, bro. You do a good job.
And on that thread, for our listeners, our genuine, since day one, hardcore listeners, It's the circle of life. Help us by sharing this out. Talk to a friend. Recommend that they listen to this episode 166.
Yep.
Right? For you guys, thank you for being willing to not only sponsor this podcast, but be a part of it.
Yeah.
As we were talking before, Blake over there, hit play. Like, that's what makes the magic happen, is when you breathe life into this thing. And so thank you guys both for being willing to come on.
For sure.
Both of you. How do people get a hold of you? Jordan with Diamond Detox, Preston with Renaissance Ranch and Team Recovery.
Yeah. Yeah. My email is preston@teamrecovery.io. So feel free to shoot me an email. Here to help however that looks.
Awesome.
Yeah. Detox support, 385-988-5332. Got a plethora of people just waiting to help, with questions. From day one, I've told my case management team, my admissions team, like, whether they're coming to us or somewhere else, like, we're going to help them. It doesn't matter. And I remember early on, an admissions person was like, you're giving them a ride over here, and you go over here, you're taking them over here. What, you're just like personal Uber driver for everyone else going somewhere else? I'm like, it's okay. That's what we do. Like, we will be known as the trusted resource that helps people, and that will come full circle. Don't worry about it. And they were like, they looked at me weird. They're like, okay, like, if this is what you want, you're the boss type of thing. Yeah. And then I remember, like, a month or two later, like, this is so cool, because that person we helped then knew they could trust us. And then when they could, or they had the right insurance or whatever it is, they came back. And that person that we took them to referred to us. And, like, it just, people helping people, just focus
Bro,
on
and that's
that.
probably why Diamond Detox at some points has waiting lists, because you guys, number one, you do an incredible job. Right. You have the vision, like the independent rooms, that's amazing. The TVs, like, it's just really like a luxury detox. But I think more than all of that, it's exactly what you just said, right? The willingness to do things that aren't going to make sense business, but they're going to make sense to the human being.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you that are listening to this, if you want to reach out and get a hold of me, if I can help in any way, the number's 385-644-1500.
Love it.
I think that's a wrap, guys.
That's a wrap.
Love you guys.
Love you too, bro. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.